So we will start standing tonight. And the we spend a lot of time standing, and it's just one way to sort of pay attention to hips. So the hips are where the femur, the thigh bone, intersects into the pelvis. It's a very sturdy joint. So as you stand and you just toggle a little bit from side to side, the muscles, and you'll see me use that image often of the big city and all the highways, exit ramps and on ramps, and it's just a lot of stuff goes on because we have the muscles from the top going down through the pelvis. We have from the top just to the pelvis, pelvis to the legs, and all these rubber bands have to agree. And the pelvis, I'll turn sideways so we can dip it into an anterior tilt. So now our front groins are a little bit collapsed and the back is jammed. We can also have a posterior tilt if there's a lot of tension up in the hamstrings and if the front is locked. So that would be what we call the red light, not district, but complex. And then the pelvis also has, so it tips forward, tips back, but they also work independently. It is three bones that makes the joint, that makes up this complex. We have each side, we have the pubic symposium. At the pubic bone, there's a joint, and then of course we have the sacrum that sits into it. Now also, hike the hips up, straight knees, and just lift the heels. So one hip will hike up, the hip will hike up. We're gonna work a lot with this tonight. Are the obliques, are the hip flexors, and the hip hikers, are they working? Is it evenly from side to side? And when you lift the hips, so if you take your hands to the hips, notice, do you tend to maybe tilt the pelvis forward? Or does it roll back for you to lift the legs? So we compromise in all kinds of interesting ways when we move the hip. So keeping the pelvis still, you'll get that cue a lot tonight. And just go up and down. So this is part of the scoliosis complex if one side is shortened. So it's an interesting event. So from that, let's come on to our back. As always, let's lay down without a lot of fuss. Make sure I'm on the right class here. And take a moment and just feel your body now resting on the mat. So we switch gravity around a little bit. What touches? What doesn't touch? I invite you to close your eyes as we practice to keep the awareness inward, letting the sensations teach you about what's going on in your body. Does one leg roll out more than the other? So you may want to just lift the head and peek down, and that will tell you a little bit about what's going on around that hip. Maybe one is tighter than the other. Notice also if one cheek lays flatter than the other. And then as you breathe in and out, feel the back ribs. Do they rest evenly? The latissimus dorsi, the wings, connect to the fascia, the tendon on the low back. And so if there's tightness in these wings, it can also hike the hip up and facilitate imbalance in this way. So it is a big pondering, this thing having your body. Now let's bend up the knees. Now let's just place the hands on the lower abdomen. And begin with the belly breathing, diaphragmatic breath. And as you breathe in and out, does the breath draw down into your lower abdomen easily? Or does the chest rise first? And if you're not sure, just place one hand on your chest, your upper chest, and keep one on the lower abdomen, and then you will have feedback. Invite you to encourage the belly to rise first. And then chest is relatively still. And then as you have that, it's like, okay, got it. Just relax your hands maybe back on the belly. But I invite you to begin to sense the breath down into your pelvis also. And begin to lay on just very minor arch and flatten. So not your big Olympic size, just enough where you can feel the contraction on the low back, on the arch, and you relax that. You take a breath in for nothing. And then exhale, flatten. And again, not a big, hairy event, less than 50% of capacity. Sensing the arms pulling in. There's Noni. Hey, Noni. I will go ahead and mute you as well. And then, so with this very small arch and flatten, so in somatics, it's always just an investigation, an inquiry. How does my body move? And what are the ways that we can do it? So again, about 50% of your capacity. And if you have your hands on your lower abdomen still, you feel that little billowing out on the in-breath. And you'll feel the pelvis lifting anteriorly. And then as you move into the flattening, feel the belly hollowing out. And now just let that go. Just let that go. And we spend a little bit of time on the muscles of the pelvic floor. So as you breathe in and out, feel that the pelvic floor, the whole pelvis, a sense of expansion on the in-breath. And as you breathe out, there's a sense of a contraction. Now, the in-breath remains the same, but as you exhale, draw the pelvic floor upward. And then inhale, slowly relax. Take a breath in and out, and we'll repeat. Inhale, sensing the pelvic floor. This is the bottom of our basket. And as you exhale, draw the pelvic floor upward. Notice how that's an invitation to the flattening. Now letting go again as you inhale slowly. When there's an imbalance of the pelvic floor, it affects everything in not just the pelvis, but the hips as well. Now take your hands and place, just hold them up so you can see them in front of your face with the index finger touching and the thumbs touching. So you create a little triangle. This is in essence your pelvic floor, where the thumbs is where the anus is and your index finger is urethra, your bladder. And in the middle is the vagina. It's so much nice to teach someone it's just girls because the plumbing is the same. So you see these three in your mind's eye, see this as your pelvic floor. So this is just to create a visual. And now contract just the anus sphincter. In yoga, we call that a Swini mudra. And then relax. Now contract the vagina. So you can take your hands down if you have it. You have this image, so just relax your hands, but contract and the out breath, contract the vagina. And relax. So these are different muscles for each area. With the anal sphincter, the strongest. So now contract the urethra. The smallest. So far, so good. Often when people are instructed how to Kegel, they might be instructed on cutting off the flow of urine. And I am not a big fan of that cue because that is just one small part of it. It really is the whole complex we need to work with. So we're going to make this a little bit interesting. And you're thinking, as it wasn't already. So now you're just going to, on the next out breath, contract the right side, just the right side. So that's all three groups, but only the right. And then relax. And then contract the left side, just the left side. And if there is, you may have some hip things on one side, some knee things on one side, which may correspond to the weakness or over contraction of these muscles. We're going to go back to the first side again. Contract. So as always, I'm sure you've experienced this with any of the other muscles we're working with. The first and second go can be like the muscles go like, I have no idea what it is you want me to do. But through repeated invitation, the muscles begin to fire because again, the motor nerves and the sensory nerves begin to connect. Our brain are starting to see this part actually belongs to our body. So I invite you again just to go gently from side to side, just half. Notice if there's a difference in the ease of one, the ease with the contracting and also releasing. And mapping it. And this is something you can pretty much do this work anywhere. Now we're going to bookend it with the whole complex again, the entire triangle. Contract. See if it feels a little different than when we did it the first time. Is there a little bit more awareness? Relax. And now let's layer this in with the pelvic arch and flatten. So inhale, again, just 50%. Don't make it the big one. And then draw to neutral, relax. Breath in for nothing. Now flatten, including the pelvic floor, drawing up a sense of narrowing the space between the sits bones. Then slowly release. A lot of low back pain is, this is part of imbalance of the pelvic floor is involved in this. It's part of our core. So moving at a pace that's comfortable for you with the arch and flatten, incorporating now in the flatten the engaging of the pelvic floor, drawing up. The lower abdomen draws in and up, so that's Uddiyana Bandha and Mula Bandha. And then we release. And let's do it just one more time. Expansion. Floating to neutral. In breath for nothing. And flattening with the pelvic floor. And slowly relax. Sliding. Make sure I get it. Oh, yes. From the arch and flatten. And we're going to play a little bit with our hip flexors. So that's continuing from last time. Slide your right leg out very lazily. Just let it relax. So sliding it out, take a breath in and out. The right leg, breathing into the right hip. So the leg is rolled out. And then slide it back in. Let's slide the left leg out. Take a deep breath in to the hip, to the entire pelvis complex. Let it relax completely. And slide the leg in. And go back to the right, lazily, easily. So this is part of, so Krauss is actually a physician. And it has these 3 sequences that I've shared with some of you. And they are all about back rehabilitation. The hips, the pelvis, and sacrum and low back. It's one unit. They all depend on each other. Sliding the leg up. Left side, sliding it out. So make this as easy as you can. If our mobility is depending on force and pushing all the time, and we get exhausted, we create tension and we create pain. So that is one type of karma. So here the karma is let it be easy. Easy and effortless. We'll do it one more time, right side. So 2, sometimes even 3 breaths. So wait for that release. The hip flexor, we know from last week, we worked mainly with the quadricep hip flexor, but they do work together, so as our other body. Of course, that attaches to each one of the lumbar vertebrae. And then just slide the right leg out, meet the left. And roll the legs in and out. Take the arms out to like a cactus arm. Just an easy arm position. Legs are long along the floor. And let's press out through the right heel. And relax. Do that one more time. Right heel, just a little bit into the calf. And begin to take the hip with you. So keep a little bit of a flattening in your low back as you pull the hip down, lengthening the right waist, shortening the left, but it's completely passive on the left. Lengthening out through the right side. And then I invite you to take the right arm back. I thought it'd be wasteful not to add the arm when we can. So the whole right side elongates. And just let the left be passive. Viveka is the notion of discernment. Discernment, what's right for me, what works for me. And that starts with svadhyaya, the practice of self-study, self-awareness, self-knowledge. Who am I? And that's a bit of a moving target, isn't it? On one hand, it feels so very solid, but everything is constantly changing. Our bodies, our thoughts, our emotions, fluctuating. So what is that constant? Who am I? Let's do it one more time. And then pause, just pause. Allow yourself just to rest, breathe. Can you follow the breath, right side and left side? And let's begin on the left, just with a couple of heel pushes first, just a little invitation. A little calf, we know this connective tissue from the calf is the hamstring, is the low back. And then we begin to take the hip with us. And again, just keep the back slightly flattened. And if you find that this is irritating to your low back, just bend up your right leg. It doesn't have to be straight. That may feel better. Again, right side is passive. And we begin to add the left arm. So now that is the lats again. Latissimus dorsi, dorsal, backside. But I like to call them wings. Pressing out through heels. Lengthening out through the hand. Left side, elongate. Make it easy. Enjoyable. So we are teaching our bodies that movement is easy, effortless, and pain-free. So if you encounter discomfort, back off. Make the movement smaller. It's okay to let go of the notion of no pain, no gain. Now I know it's hardwired into many of us. Right along with blood, sweat, and tears. But this works differently. Let's round it out with one more time on the left. And then let it go. Let the arms relax down in a comfortable way. And again, sense. Listen inward. Are you encountering places of tension that you didn't know were there? Can you relax a little bit more? And then we're going to bend up the knees just so you can roll over onto the right side. Then as you come to rest on the right side, you may choose to support your head with an arm. Bend up your left leg so you can lay comfortable on your side. And as you check, just check that you're laying very straight, that you're not rounding forward, that you are all the way up on your right side. So the left leg, the top leg is straight, right leg is bent up. Sorry, I had the legs backwards. So here, same thing, heel pushes down, lengthen the leg down. But now pull the hip up, pull the hip up. Lengthen the leg down and then pull the hip up. Moving back and forth. Draw the hip up. So the foot is just sliding on the floor. Pelvis is neutral. You can take a hand to your waist and you may find that I hope you do, as you hike the hip up, you feel your internal obliques are contracting to get the hips hiked up. When we get locked into the sides, then these muscles sort of give out and we are not able to do this if we have a lot of congestion in the lumbar spine. We stop doing this. Now just relax your arm down alongside, and then as you hike the hip up, slide the hand down. So now we're moving the ribs down towards the hips. Pull the arm down, but the hips up, and leg slides up. My leg is lifting up a little bit. Yours may stay down. You may lift it up a wee bit. Slow and easy. And just letting it go. I'm going to take the left knee on top of the right. So this is not the 90-90 position. It's more like the 40-45 of the hips. And we'll do the clamshell. Now the outer hip are going to have to get to work a little bit. Lifting your left knee straight up. Don't roll on the hip. So notice that you're not rolling onto the back of the hip, and then slowly release the knee down. This is a piriformis. And also your gluteus medius stabilizes. Let's take a breath in and out. And again, lifting the knee, and pay close attention to the sensation on your right hip. That is like a button that's just a buttoned in, and you're not pulling the button in the seam. It's staying exactly in the center. Lift the knee. What's available? And then lowering down super slow. What's doing it? Pure hip mobility. And one more time. Lifting and lowering. Now slide your left leg up. Drop to the floor. Take a breath here. That will now release that whole outer hip complex. And we slide the leg out long. Just along the floor, straight down the mat. Drawing it up again, sliding it up. There's another hip flexor movement, but we added the hip stabilizers. So the pelvis again is completely neutral. Very little movement in the pelvis. Slide the leg down, straight down the mat. And one more time, pull the leg up. Let the knee drop down. Take your breath here. Take 2 breaths. Sense, there's a sense of the outer hip just relaxing. And then slide the leg out. And then roll onto your back. Pause. Sense. What is different? And we'll bend up the knee so we can roll over onto the left side. Bend up your left leg. Take the right out long. The hand can be on the hip, it can be on the floor, it can be on the waist. And we are ready to rock and roll. Reach out through the heel as we just did, and then draw the hip up. Lengthen back out. With the little seesaw movement. This is your waist. So that we maintain again the length of the lumbar spine. Back and forth. How is this side? Is this the easy side? Is this the is this the stepchild side? Like, who are you? So slowing it down, tending to it with patience, getting it on board. And then we can relax the arm on the hip and we begin to add the rib movement. So as the hip draws up, this rib cage shoulder moves down. And then we relax it back out long. And we pull the hips up again long. So hips are hiking up and then out. At the same time, I'm moving my arm down. So I'm squeezing everything together at the waist. Did that make sense, Noni? You had a look. So pull the hip up while I pull the shoulder down, and then everything lengthens back out again. Let's do one more. And then we'll bend up the knees. Pause. Check, are you still all the way up on your side? And then clamshell. Lifting the knee. So if you are diagnosed with greater trochanteric bursitis, that means there's an inflammation of the bursa sacrum, the outer hip. We got these little bursa dudes all over the body. Just little shock absorbers of fluid. How do you know, you ask? It hurts to lay on the side. Last week, we took care of the IT band because it connects below the knee. So that is another one to help this area, the outer hips. Women, we are much more likely to get the greater trochanteric bursitis diagnosis for two reasons: the shape of our pelvis, but also because we tend to sit cross-legged more than guys do. So from here on out, no crossing of the legs. Now I catch myself doing it. Lifting. Don't roll on the hips, so pay close attention. Just keep that button centered. And then letting that go. And let's slide the knee up. Let it drop down. So we just increase the distance between the thigh bone and the sacrum. Take a breath in. And then slowly slide the leg out along the floor. Sliding it up again. Dropping the knee down. Breathe into the outer hip. Sliding it out. One more time. All the way up. And rolling over onto your back again. Sliding the legs out. And then bend up the knees. Take the arms out to the sides. Cross the right leg over the left. Call this the hook and dip. Drawing the knees to the right. Lifting up again. So working again, same complex, but different movements. Relax the knees to the right. We add a little bit more of spinal rotation to this one. Gentle brush strokes. no pain. What muscles are releasing, going down, and I'm assuming same ones that you are contracting, drawing up. Really sense what allows this mobility. Is it maybe more than just the hip? And we'll do just one more. Come up to center. And we'll switch. And start on the other side. Inhaling down, there's a little arch. And exhaling out. Inhaling down. Exhaling, flattening, coming up. Let the head just journey however it feels good. And all the way up. And release. Which got us ready for our hip push and crouch 2. So we'll do second crouch movement, which does involve our hip flexors now. So there'll be a little bit of a flattening of the low back. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, let's take the right knee in. Take it to the chest. And then release the foot down and slide it out long. So in our second take here, now we invited the psoas on board fully, asking it to contract. Let it relax in long position. And then slide it up again. Pull the knee in. No use of hands. Let the foot come back to the mat. Sliding it out long. Let it go. And repeat. Slide the leg up. Feel the muscles engaging as you pull the knee in. The flexors check. And then we're releasing. Lowering the foot down. Sliding it out. So slow it down. And then let all effort release. Sliding the leg up. Make the movement smooth and easy. Hugging in. And then slow and smooth. Lower the leg down. Control it. sliding it out. Let it go. Relax completely. One more time. Sliding it in. Draw the knee in. And then slowly help it relax. Coming down, sliding out. And then slide the left leg out. And just pause. And now let's bend up the right knee. And have a date with the left leg, sliding it up slowly, drawing it into the chest. Lower the foot down. So explore and experiment. We have our three entities, right? We have movement, we have stillness. And in that stillness, we use the breath. Notice how this leg moves. Slow it down. So if this was Sanskrit, it would be a hurry, as opposed to hurry. They just put A's in front of words and then it means the opposite, as in himsa and ahimsa. Himsa is violence. Ahimsa, absence of violence. So we are in the ahuri, ahimsa. And again, evaluate, is there a big difference between the two? The little differences become big differences. Unless we help them to not be differences. But these grooves, these patterns of movement that layer in and we don't even notice it. When we are hurrying. So this is your invitation to just take it real slow and easy. Next time you slide the leg out, just let it stay. Slide the right leg out to meet the left. Bending up the knees again. Flattening the back just a wee bit again. And that you may already be in that position, so this should come with a little bit of explanation. My tendency is to hang out in an arch where I'm always jamming my low back, so I use the reminder, okay, a little bit of a pulling up of the pubic bone to create stability for my low back. So we've done the hip slides in many different variations. Now we're going to do the opposite. You're going to press the right hip into the floor and then let that go. Press the right hip into the floor. So this is a very deep movement. This is your psoas. It has to contract just the right side. The knees are very still. So you're just pressing the right down. Notice the left hip gets a little lighter. So this is a vertical move, not a horizontal move. Press the hip down. Slow and easy. So the psoas picks up a little dude in the pelvis, the iliacus, which is why it's called the iliopsoas. And that covers the whole inside of your pelvis bone. Funny looking thing, like a very fancy Chinese fan. So that is helping you now create this movement. If there's an imbalance in the psoas, there's one in the iliacus and vice versa. Now letting that go, and as we move to the other side, press the left hip down, let it go. And again, keep an eye on your knees. If they begin to dance all over the place, that is a compensatory movement pattern. You're trying to use the knees to facilitate instead of using the muscles of your lower abdomen. Notice also if you're using your feet to press into the floor, the feet stay really relaxed. A small move, but an integral part of walking because the pelvis here are moving opposite. So the hip is pressing straight down, just the left side. And if you're not sure at all what is happening, you can again place your hands on your abdomen. You should feel your lower abdominal muscles contracting more on the left than on the right. But if there is an imbalance, the right is want to try to help out as best as it can because the left is not quite showing up for the party. You know, there's always someone like that. All right, so far so good. We are ready to go pedaling. So bring your mind to your right hip. Draw the right hip up towards the shoulder, but now you're going to lift it up and pedal it forward, meaning towards the feet. It will come down towards the floor, pressing down, pulling up again. It's like your hips are now bicycle pedals going around and around. Your left hip will be traveling, obviously, I know, opposite of the right. But just for now, let the right lead the party. Is it smooth and easy? Or is it a jagged event? Let's go backwards. Right hip travels backwards. Big circles. Vertical circles, not horizontal. We do those when we do the clock movement. I know you've all done it with me. This is walking backwards. Now, let's lead with the left hip forward first. Circling. It's not a big movement. How does that feel? Is it smooth? Around? What about when we go backwards? Left hip, you are riding your bike backwards. If the left side is your dominant side, this may be your easy side. If it is you're not dominant, the left hip may be like, who done it in rain? So we spend a little time getting it on board. It's like I want the same motor and sensory nerve signals to my left hip as I do in my right. I want my brain to know it is there. And let that go. Walk the heels all the way as close to the torso as you can. We're going to use bridge pose tonight to bank it with. So as you inhale, press the feet down, squeeze the buns, lift the hips. And exhale, lower down. Take a breath in and out. And again, press the feet down, lift the hips, squeeze the buns. And slowly let go. And one more just for good measure. When you're ready, inhale, pressing up. Squeeze, contract. And let everything release. Slowly lower down. Slide the legs out. Breathe in and out. Sensing the outline of your body. In a 3D. Are the areas that are hard to see, that are hidden. As you bend up the knees, let's rock the knees from side to side. Roll all the way over. And then gently find your way out. So that's a good mental exercise to do when you lay in bed, when you wake up, when you go to sleep, just to check in. Sense that 3D outline of your body. What does your body recognize as present? And what can't the body see? What can't your mind see? With that said, let's close with an Om. Maintain that spaciousness and high vibration in our bodies. Let's take a breath in. Namaste.